Good morning, everyone, or should I say, good afternoon. We're pretty close to afternoon. I wanted to update everyone and hope that you got the link for my book uh, for a more detailed explanation of how we got into this quagmire with the current administration and other um, other countries. So I'd just like to say that um, I've listened to different proponents uh, of how we got into this mess. And now what I'm looking at is okay, now that we're in it, what do we do? What is the exit strategy? And how do we um, extract ourselves from this without being worried about a nuclear conflagration on either side? So I was listening to, in particular, um, Mr. Wilkerson, who is the chief of staff for Colin Powell. And his analogies of what's happening is quite interesting. One is that um, the havoc that's being wreaked on the Gulf states and Israel is not really covered in the media. They show Iran being attacked, but they don't show the level of destruction that Iran is um, causing to Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. And it is quite interesting that the press doesn't really cover the level of destruction in Israel. And I believe it's the negative propaganda that Israel is trying to avoid because um, boots on the ground in Iraq would be disastrous. We look at we look at the landscape of Iran, and Iran shows that as I had mentioned before, it's a hilly terrain. There are ways to hide from incoming fire, and um, the U.S. has requested for the Kurds to join join the war, and the Kurds have a philosophy where they've been used before, and it's the old philosophy of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. The Kurds have been used in other wars and discarded, so they're aware that there's no win for them, and they would not like hypersonic rockets raining down on them within Afghanistan in their particular northwestern area of Iran. They're not stupid. Um, when Hegseth and Trump got into this war, one of the problems that they had is they said they thought it was going to be what they call a cakewalk, like they did in Venezuela. Now they're realizing they were they thought they were uh, hitting a turtle in a pond with a stick, and now they found out what's really coming out of that pond was not a turtle, but a black mamba. The head was looking the same, but they're realizing that the venomous um, potency is much more than they believed to be the case. Now they're trying to extract themselves out. In Iran, whose leader, spiritual leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, his successor is now his son. So imagine how his son feels about what the U.S. and Iran has done to his father, and to come to him and ask for them to um, cede victory to to Israel and the U.S. is really absurd. This may be a longer war than either country expected. As I said, one of the crucial issues is that when you cut off or block the Strait of Hormuz, 60% of commerce comes through that area. I mentioned 20% of the oil comes from that area, and for the GCC, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, that's a real choke point. So really, what the U.S. and Israel really should do is lick their wounds and stop this conflagration that could spill into, and I'm hesitant to say it, nuclear. There's no benefit for the U.S. involved in this war, none whatsoever. There are 900 million Iranians, and they had sued for peace, as I said before. With the IAEA, they agreed to have inspections of their facilities. It wasn't until Trump's first term did they tear up the nuclear agreement that Iran was abiding by and continued and wanted to continue to abide by it. But for some reason, Trump thought it was prudent to tear that agreement up. And now we're kind of paying the consequences for it. So I'm hoping that there's some way where there could be an off-ramp for this aggression that we as a U.S. and Israel has initiated. I'm getting more information. I will provide more on my YouTube channel, but I just want people to be aware that the circumstances that we're facing could get pretty dire, and I'm hoping that the representatives in Congress will try to look at the short and long term of the consequences of this ill thought out act of attacking Iran for the benefit of Israel. All we need is two states and the UN or some neutral party to monitor both sides so that they can mitigate further conflicts. The problem is that there's no reason for Iran to any longer trust the U.S. is because they were making all the concessions necessary to a peace agreement, and because Netanyahu wants a greater Israel, he's not interested in any peace talks. I hate to say that, but the U.S. has to step up and stop this. I can't use the word, but I think you know what I mean. But the U.S. has to step up and say enough is enough. Let's go back to the agreements and, diffuse this volatile situation that will have consequences to oil prices, to food, to energy, to stability in different areas, and that the U.S. should start abiding by international treaties and agreements that makes everyone safe on this planet. And perhaps we may even consider looking at alternatives for petroleum, which is not doing anything beneficial for the oncoming um, climate change. Sorry to be a bearer of such dire information, but the truth is said to set you free. And hopefully, when people know what's going on, people will talk to their representatives and do what's necessary to stop this insanity. Hope to be speaking with you soon, and we will talk later.